What is up, everyone? Welcome back to BF Film Session Live. I'm your co-host, Clay Troya, and over here we've got
Kendall Mursky. How is everyone doing? I hope everyone's coping well. I know I'm not necessarily coping well, but I'm coping. Clay, how you coping? How have you been coping? Honestly, everyone in the chat, let us know what you've been doing to cope with this, because there's a lot of different stages of grief and a lot of different ways that you could go about coping. So I'm curious about how you did it and how the people in the chat are.
Yeah, I mean, for me, all of Monday, really, I just didn't want to talk about it, didn't want to hear about it. When I got back to my house afterward, I didn't want to talk about it, didn't want to think about it, obviously. But then, yeah, most of Monday wasn't really about. I was just trying to push it off and not think about it as much as I could. I did start to slowly work my way back onto Twitter that day because at first it was just everything. That was all I was seeing, and I just didn't want it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that was kind of just the hardest thing, was just dealing with it and trying to come to terms with it, because it's something like that doesn't happen very often. You know, the game that it was, how special it was, and the way that it ended, those are all things that it feels like that was kind of our generation's Music City miracle to an extent, because we've never really had anything that heartbreaking outside of a meaningless regular season game between the Cardinals.
Right. That's what it felt like a lot to me too.
Yeah.
But obviously there's a lot more magnitude on this one. Ben Lannon comes in saying we'll be back. This is kind of where I've been trying to shift my focus and try and get over this, kind of just think about the future. And then furthermore, these are back-to-back comments. Cameron Cook comes in saying I've been focusing on the offseason and draft stuff, and that's kind of where I've been also getting at, where it's, yes, we'll be back. We have a good roster. We have a good organization, all that kind of stuff. But also, kind of just turn the page on it, and how can you improve? What can you do this offseason to make the team just a hair better than what it is? So maybe we don't even get into a scenario that is 13 seconds. And like you tweeted, anyone that saw our promo tweet, we're not going to include any of this stuff after the Gabe Davis touchdown, because we don't want to do that to you. If you want to watch that stuff, I recommend you go watch what Cover One put out yesterday. What they did yesterday on that was excellent, and they really broke it down well. I don't feel like we need to do that to people twice if we have double viewers, people watching them and us. I don't feel like we need to go over that again. We're going to try to be as positive as we can on this show. I sprinkled in a little bit of negativity that may fuel the fire a little bit for some of the viewers here, but we're going to try to stay as positive as possible and talk about all the great things that still are to come in Buffalo and what are still here.
Yeah, I mean, that game, it was an amazing game.
It was
an amazing game of football. Everyone loved that game. If you're a fan of football, you like that game. Unless you're a fan of the Buffalo Bills, you probably didn't like it as much.
Right, of course.
At a certain point, it stopped being fun. But yeah, this is, it was just such an amazing game. There were historic performances, and, we can't just, I don't think we should ignore it just because they ended up losing the game in the end. Especially because Josh Allen had, one of the best playoff performances ever, in a 2-game span, one of the best playoff appearances for a quarterback in a season, is Josh Allen. And you can only imagine if he got to play more games, what kind of damage he would do to those records, because he was just completely possessed. But yeah, I mean, we could talk about the end just a little bit and kind of talk about the, how it was just super unfortunate the way that everything happened. The whole squib kick call not getting relayed through, as Cover One reported. That definitely hurts a little bit.
Yeah, it makes it hurt a lot more.
Yeah, and then many people didn't, and I'd agree with it, that the defensive play calling wasn't good on those last two plays from regulation. Yeah, everything could have gone better, but another way to look at it is Patrick Mahomes was doing the same exact thing that Josh was doing, where it was, once those guys kind of get to a certain level and they kind of ascend to that point, it's really hard to stop either one of them. And that was definitely on show for a lot of that game. So the Bills would have had to be playing some crazy out of their minds defense to even come close to being able to compete with something like that, which is something that, every time the Bills got the ball, we saw that as well. So yeah, it's definitely tough to stomach, but they'll be back. And anytime, as long as they've got Josh Allen at the quarterback position and Sean McDermott as the head coach, the playoff window's open. So the Super Bowl window's open as well, because those two guys can accomplish anything there.
The way I see it is, the window may shrink, but I agree the window will be open as long it's Bean, McDermott, Allen. As long as those three are running the show here in Buffalo, like I know lack of confidence, but I will agree, like fiscally, it does get more difficult after next season. I think next season is kind of that pinnacle of, really getting the most out of the quarterback on a rookie contract and even your middle linebacker on a rookie contract, because obviously this is Tremaine Edmonds going into that 5th-year option. And then after that, it's what do you do with the middle linebacker position? Do you give Ed Oliver a 5th-year option? Because then his pay goes up and that impacts the cap. All those kind of things. I think there's another player I'm forgetting that's going to impact the cap a lot besides just like Edmonds.
I don't know if it's happening
Oliver.
for others too, but your audio was kind of cutting in and out a little bit there. So you want to repeat the last thing that you said?
I just said I don't know if it's beyond Edmonds and Oliver after 2022 that really spikes the salary cap. Also, let me know in the chat if anyone else is having me trickle out my audio or anything like that.
I don't know what's going on. Chat, are you guys hearing the same kind of audio issues as I'm hearing, or is this me?
Yeah, it would be huge if anyone could come in with that, because I got to be able to conversate with my guy over here. All right, everyone says it's good. Huh. Anyways, I don't know. Maybe disconnect and reconnect your output.
Okay. All right. Yeah, it's just me then. So my fault, guys. There. It's my connection supposed to be bad.
Do your job to troubleshoot. I'll buy time over here.
Okay.
I'll buy time.
Yeah, go for it.
So anyways, I really think specifically with how the salary cap situation works. Obviously, the cap is going to continue to go up, especially with the COVID cap impacting this year. It's only going to go up. And then there's that TV contract and all that kind of stuff. So it's only going to get bigger, and it's going to make it seem like Josh Allen's contract is more and more and more acceptable as time goes on and as that contract keeps going forward into the future. But I really think after 2022, it does start to get a little bit more difficult and it starts to get constraining to an extent. But like we both said, at the end of the day, like if it's Bean, McDermott, and Allen running the ship here in Buffalo, like we're going to have no shortage of confidence for this team in Buffalo, because since all three of those guys have been in town, there has been no problem. The team has been rocking and rolling. It has been, for the most part, linear progression. And I think we've been spoiled by the fact that it has been linear progression where every year it just gets incrementally better. And we assume because we were in the AFC Championship last year, we're going to get to the Super Bowl this next year. Unfortunately, we faced the Chiefs in the divisional round, and then, the rest is history. But I want to turn it over to you. Can you still hear me? I guess that is a good question.
Yes, I can still hear you. And as long as you guys can still hear me, I'm going to try to power through. Am I coming through okay for now?
Yeah, you're good You're good for me. Someone said that your your
My
webcam
webcam
is
is freezing up.
freezing a little bit. So maybe it's something with your internet. I'm not
Be.
exactly sure.
It's probably on my end, but I just closed a few things out, so hopefully that helps. But
Hopefully.
yeah, I mean, the team's going to be back, and that's, like you said, it kind of sucks that we had to play the Chiefs. Sorry, I was kind of cutting in and out of what you're saying, but the fact that we had to play the Chiefs, in 2 years in a row, and we're going to have to go through them again at some point eventually, and every time you play them, it's going to be a learning experience. Did you bring up Silas's comment from earlier as well?
I did not.
Okay, yeah, we'll go back. We had a super chat from Silas. Thank you for that, Silas.
Yeah, thank you.
The difference is Hill and his speed, and I'll agree with that to an extent because there are times he's just such a weapon where you can just throw it to him at 5 yards, and if he doesn't have anyone within the direct vicinity of him, he could score a touchdown because he's just so shifty and fast. He can get himself out of any trouble like that. So yeah, I mean, he's definitely dangerous, but we're going to go over some of the plays where the Bills stopped him, and I think we're covering him very well, and they do a very good job, honestly. Every time they play Tyreek Hill, they force them to have to use those underneath plays and those give it to him short and make him do something type of plays, because they do a very good job of covering him off deep. So yeah, I definitely think that is something that's dangerous, though, that just adds that extra little element to that offense where it's just one more thing that you have to stop.
100%. I definitely think the way this defense is built, it makes it very difficult to guard someone like that because we're so technically sound and we don't really rely on flashy traits on the defense. It's just, everyone's positioning, being instinctive, anticipation, all that kind of stuff, playing within the scheme, all that kind of stuff kind of helps make this defense what it is. But I think a lot of people are hoping for a traitsy guy in the draft this year. I didn't get to talk on it, but I wanted to bring it back to the prevent defense thing and just share. I know we're going to be positive, but I do want to just share my my anger with that. As we're both wearing red here. We're both pretty angry with how this all played out. But my thing with the prevent defense is that this isn't the first time we've seen the prevent defense play like that. And I'm sure because it wasn't a squib kick, kind of rolls into maybe some indecision on what they wanted to do on defense after, because they were probably planning on, hey, maybe there's going to be 2 less seconds. Maybe they're going to be this much further up the field or this much further behind the 25. They weren't exactly ready for the full 13 seconds, 3 timeouts at the 25. So they may have had to change up what they were planning to do on defense. But either way, this is not the first time we've seen this prevent defense come out there with, a minute left in the half, and they're just rolling out prevent defense, and then the opposing offense is just coming out 15. And I mean, that's where it starts to bother me, and it starts to become a trend. And it's like, why have we not self-scouted ourselves to the point where McDermott can understand that this is a repeatable offense? This is a repeated offense that they just can't keep doing. The defense is so good at keeping things in front of them as is in their normal defense. There's no need to overcompensate for that because there's not a lot of offenses that take the top off of our defense. And I don't want to ridicule McDermott too much because I know there's people out there that literally want him gone for this mistake. And I understand because it's an egregious mistake, like communication chain stuff, and then doubling down on it with the prevent stuff. Like, it's bad, but it's not fireable because you cannot forget he's the one that got us there. And he's the one that brought this, not him alone, but he's one of the people that brought this franchise out of the dirt.
Yeah, the whole Sean McDermott thing is completely ridiculous. Yeah, I tweeted out, I've had my fun where it's like, oh, hashtag fire McDermott, but it's, people are actually calling for that, and that's just completely ridiculous. But I agree with what you said about how kind of that prevent defense being, a repeat offender of, hey, this does not seem to be working very well for us. So we have to be able to do something about it. But yeah, Silas Will came in with another comment as well. If we adjust the speed on defense, we'll be fine. We just need guys who can tackle without giving up a chunk of yak. We need DTDB and LB, Jay Davis, Andre Booth, and Brandon Smith, please. Dante Jackson, undrafted free agent. Yeah, I mean, I agree. DTDB and LB are all positions in need. I'd like an interior offensive lineman as well. As far as speed on defense, I mean, I don't think it's a huge issue, just because I know it's, the Chiefs are the team that you have to beat, and you have to be able to build your team around that. So maybe you can get a guy that's got a little more speed, but
Yeah.
I think it was Bean that said it today. It's, sure, we like guys with speed, but we want football players. So,
Right.
I'd rather have a guy that, runs a high 4.4, low 4.5 out there than a guy who maybe doesn't have quite as much skill and isn't able to cover quite as well, but has a 4.3 speed. So
Think
yeah,
of Gabe
it's
Davis. He ran a 4.54.
yeah, exactly.
But
Um,
I also want to say it's actually funny he brings up linebacker, because I know a lot of people are thinking like, we got to replace Edmonds. I'm actually curious about if they want to kind of find a hybrid guy as the third linebacker to obviously eventually replace Klein. I don't know what their plans are with Klein this offseason, because he's still under contract through next year. But I'm curious if they want to find a hybrid guy that can play both off ball and on the edge in kind of like a 2-point stance and get after the quarterback a little bit, because I think that would do a lot for getting this defense out of the vanilla type of style that they play up front sometimes, and show some 3-man fronts or 3 down linemen. And especially in the final 13 seconds, we saw 3 down linemen and Mario Addison as a spy. Imagine if that was like a hybrid player, like a Donta Hightower kind of thing, in his prime, so to speak, where, he can do a little bit of everything and you don't really know exactly what he's going to do just based on his pre-snap alignment. So I'm curious what they want to do with the linebacker position moving forward. I'm sure they want to stick with the base nickel stuff, but I'm curious if, they saw how much they can get gashed in the run game. I'm curious if they want a more formidable third linebacker and something that can open up some flexibility for what they want to do schematically on defense. This offseason has a lot of different storylines for what they want to do and what they could do, but we can get onto that perhaps at the end of the show, start talking about moving forward in the future. But yeah, I guess we should probably get into the film.
yeah, we can get into it. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to start this?
I'm trying to think who you used. Yeah, I'll go first.
Okay.
So no surprise, I'm talking about Gabe Davis. Yeah, Gabe Davis was just playing possessed. Obviously, the Chiefs did a really great job of taking away Diggs in this game. Specifically putting safeties on his side of the field, different things, just different ways defensively and schematically to take away Diggs. And it really opened up the game for Davis, and he flourished. He shined. He showed that he can be wide receiver too, as you see there on the bottom. He absolutely can be that. And here he is down here on the bottom of the screen. This is his first touchdown, and this isn't like the most impressive play by really anyone on the Bills, but if you break it down kind of by the minutia of it, you see Beasley coming in motion here, and the Chiefs are bringing everyone. They're bringing everyone. They're leaving 4 guys in coverage. This is a 0 coverage, and it's this guy's down here on Dawson, this guy's down here on Beasley, and it's really just everyone's one-on-one. And yes, the Bills get fortunate with the Chiefs defenders running into each other. But the important part about this is if I pause it here, like when Josh Allen is getting rid of this football, like this guy hasn't fallen yet. Josh Allen is finding his answer. He sees the cover 0. He sees the blitz. He understands he has to get the ball out quickly. And there's a guy impeding where Knox is trying to run. Knox is trying to run up the seam, and this is just not an option. This is a curl route. This is, a quick little angle dig route. And yeah, while this is technically open, the 0 blitz, it leaves this deep area just wide open. And then furthermore, look at where Josh puts this. If the defender was even there, like say this defender doesn't fall over and he doesn't get hit by his own guy, I'll show you on this angle. This is a well-placed ball under pressure off his back foot. He's putting it in a spot where only his guy can get it. So yeah, it's not a big deal because he's uncovered. But if you break it down and look at it, hey, what if they didn't run into each other? This is a nice opportunity to let your guy go and make a play. So not the most impressive thing in the world, but the little details of it does make it a little bit more impressive than it seems. I don't want to say to the untrained eye, but on the surface.
Yeah, I agree. And this is just a fantastic play by Josh too, to, like you said, put the ball out in a, kind of up high, where Gabe Davis is better off to go get it. And yeah, his guy fell over, so he just got a free catch there. But yeah, to be decisive, knowing that you're under pressure, he kind of sees his guy coming open over the middle and says, "Yeah, I'm going to give him a shot." So yeah, his decisiveness was something that I really liked from a lot of this game. And then yeah, just I love the way Gabe catches with his hands.
Yeah.
Because obviously he has to go up and catch it with his hands here, but like I feel like he's one of those guys that really emphasizes that even when Josh Allen's throwing those fastballs.
And he really does. And it's funny. We'll actually get to that at some point with Gabe Davis. He's an excellent hands catcher, and it goes unnoticed sometimes. I kind of wish I included that sideline catch that was debatably caught. But I couldn't. It wasn't actually caught. But here we see this next play here. He's kind of running a deep. I want to say he's like kind of cutting off a post route because the Chiefs are dropping into cover 3 right here. And it looks like he's running a post here, right? Like he cuts it off. He's coming diagonally up the field and he sees there's a safety right here. So he just kind of shuffles down. He breaks down and he curls it up right there at the 27-yard line. But what's so impressive about this play is how he works back to the football and how he makes life easier on Josh Allen. And furthermore, getting to Josh Allen, look at this pocket movement. Look at this pocket manipulation. And he gets up there, and Diggs is open here, but it's a more difficult throw to get to Diggs. There's a window between these two linebackers that Davis is just sitting perfectly in between. So really great job by both of them. And it's really starting to become, I don't want to say starting to become obvious, but it is obvious now how much more chemistry there is between Allen and Davis compared to Allen and Sanders, because they showed some chemistry earlier in the season, but there was something just quite not, it just wasn't quite there. And with Davis and Allen, it's just like it feels like you're not even skipping a beat with the relationship he has with Allen versus what Diggs has with Allen. It really doesn't feel too far off. These guys feel like they're in each other's heads and they just know what each other are thinking. They're reading the covers the same way. Aside from that one back shoulder curl route early in the game that looked like they were just just on the wrong note on that one. Aside from that, I mean, they were just on the same page all game.
Yeah, and when they're on, they're on. But even recently, I feel like they've been a little bit off. So I've been kind of worried about Davis, just because it felt like even against the Patriots and going into week 18, I feel like there were a couple times, at least on the option routes, it kind of felt like they weren't really, and those back shoulder fades, it kind of felt like Gabe thought the ball was going to be coming somewhere. Josh thought Gabe was going to be somewhere else, type of a thing. Specifically, the back shoulders and the option routes, it seemed like they were getting lost to each other a little bit. So yeah, it's really good to see them have that good chemistry with each other, and one always knows where the other one is and what they're going to do. And when you get that kind of chemistry, I think, and that's the crazy part, is I don't even think their chemistry has reached its fullest potential, because they still have those moments like that,
right,
where it's, and once they clean those things up, I think he's going to be such a solid wide receiver too, and could even develop himself into a wide receiver 1 when Diggs starts to get up there in contract age and or retirement age. I don't know how long Diggs is going to stick around. So
yeah, there's no telling on it. I hope we figure out some way to extend Diggs at this point. For me, that's priority number 1 this offseason. But moving on, focus on Gabe Davis here, because this is the shiny new toy. I just went back to the beginning of this play. Unbelievable. All right. This is the play that everyone is just going to fawn over. This is that corner post shimmy, and he just drops his man. This is a cover 3 here. You got 4 guys here just on the intermediate level of the field, and these back 3 guys are kind of just playing the shell in the back here. No one's really threatening the deep boundaries, and Abe kind of fakes it. He fakes like he's going to threaten that corner, and he just drops his man. There's really not much more to this than just great suddenness and route running here. He really attacks the leverage and makes it feel like he's going towards that back left pylon, and just drops his man. He just tests his hip fluidity, and he didn't have it. He didn't have it. And it really goes to show that Gabe Davis does have those abilities to be a well-rounded wide receiver. He's not just a deep threat. He's not just a 50-50 guy. He's not just a sideline guy, and you hear me just rattling off things that he's capable of doing. It shows. He's well-rounded. He has the route running. He can separate and catch balls in traffic. This dude is a very well-rounded wide receiver, and we're lucky to have snagged him, and we're lucky to have his eyes on him and steal him in that 4th round. Am I wrong about that?
I think
did we get
4th
him in the
round.
4th round?
Yeah.
It's a steal, guys.
Yeah, it is an absolute steal. And it's funny, you know, if you guys haven't seen the clip, there's a clip posted of Brandon Beane talking, I think, to Sean McDermott, either that or Joe Shane.
It was Joe Shane. Yep.
Was it Joe Shane saying, man, I hope Davis doesn't run a good 40 time because I'd love for him to drop. And sure enough, he didn't run a good 40 time and he dropped. And, you know, this is the result. You get a wide receiver that can do stuff like this. So, yeah, I mean, the way that he runs, he kind of does his fake directly into the direction of the defensive back there, to just really kind of like, you know, it puts him completely off because it's like, oh, is this guy going to run right through me? Like I have to react to it. And then to just the head fake to go along with it. He even got like a little shoulder turn. Like he really sold that so well. And he did it at speed too. You know, he didn't have to slow down to make this move. He's in a full sprint, does one out and he's gone, still, you know, maintaining his speed through the move. So yeah, very, very impressive. And then, yeah, that's an easy throw for Josh once he turns around and sees a wide open Gabe Davis like that.
Big window. Kind of reminds me of a Devin Singletary dead leg right there. He just plants that dead leg. Weird analogy. I don't know why when you said he attacked the middle of his body, it kind of reminded me of like when the ball gets hit right at the center of you when you're playing tennis and you don't know if you should backhand it or forehand it.
Exactly.
Kind of feels like that.
Yeah. So he's trying to figure out what to do with his hips, and then all of a sudden his feet are lost underneath him because you know,
I don't know why I thought of that, but
that actually is a really good analogy for anyone who's ever played tennis. Like, you know, when it's hit right at you, you do not know what to do.
All right, let's get on to the next one here. So this is late in the game here. This is the game-winning drive. We're going to call it that because that's how I'm trying to frame my mind right now. Stay positive. This is the game-winning drive here. This is Gabe Davis just running a deep dig route here, but what I really want to focus on are late hands and the ability to pluck the football. He gets beyond the second level of the defense in this cover 2, this kind of disguise cover 2, where they drop a safety down, and he gets right behind that second level and he just grabs the ball, perfectly plucks that ball out of the air and gets some yards after the catch. Nothing impressive in terms of yards after the catch, but Josh puts it on the money. Like, I mean, exactly where you need to put it to give your guy extra yards after the catch. But just watch how he just plucks this out of the air. Like, this is what we mean by great hands catcher. Like, this is really impressive, especially like you said, with the velocity that Josh Allen puts behind the football. When this catch was made, and I think this was after a pretty difficult, I think it was like a curl route where he was actually, that might be the next play after this. I didn't put it in here, but sequentially the next play after this, it was like a shallow curl route and he's really being hampered. He's got a lot of people around him and he's just making a play on it. Like, Gabe Davis is just so well-rounded. The way he catches the football, he's been very reliable. Yeah, he's had some drops early in his career, but he's really turning a corner with that concentration. He's showing that he can make the spectacular catch.
Yeah, I mean, talk about a hands catch. I love the way he catches away from his body there, like you said. The way he ran with it afterwards, kind of funny. I saw this comment, which is very true. If anything, if there's any addition that we should make to the skill positions on offense, that would probably be one of them, is a little bit of that, because I think Devin Singletary is just about the only guy who can make someone miss after he catches a football. But yeah, he's the way he finds his space underneath there in the on the second level, and then Josh doing a great job of climbing the pocket but keeping his eyes downfield and knowing that Gabe Davis is going to be coming over the middle, so he looks back to that side and sure enough, he's wide open. Yeah, this angle is great. You can see he has to cut up and he looks across and knows where his guy's going to be and pulls the trigger on it. That's just such a good job. He could have scrambled here.
Yeah. Multiple times in this game he could have done that. Like, he climbed the pocket really well in this game and he did this.
Yeah, and he could have, he could have scrambled, but 55. That's Clark. I think he's kind of headed that direction. He could have gotten tackled there, but yeah, the way he keeps his eyes downfield, it just felt like every decision Josh made was the right one. Like there were other decisions he could have made, but he chose the best option, and it felt like he did that on multiple occasions, and that's just so impressive and indicative of the game that he was having.
Also, this is a very heady play. If he's thinking to scramble and he understands like there's a minute left in this game.
Yeah.
It is so much faster to pass the ball down the field versus run it and try and get 20 yards. This is just so much more clock effective and efficient. And he's
trying to get as many yards as he can with it
in as short of time as he can. So really well done on this play. And yeah, we can't stress enough the pocket movement. He was really magnificent in this game.
Yeah.
But here's the game-winning touchdown here from Gabe Davis. And really nothing crazy to this. It's two-man coverage. Everyone's in man except for those two safeties there. And Gabe is, he's got his guy playing like crazy outside leverage on him. So he attacks the inside, right? He attacks the inside pretty hard, but he makes sure he stays very physical with that left shoulder. So he doesn't allow that guy to the inside of him because he knows he's just running a straight seam route. He knows he has to split those two safeties. So he's got to stay strong on that left shoulder. And it gives him a subtle little push off and a jab step to the inside. And he's just wide open on that seam for the game-winning touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, not much more to say, really. I love his physicality. I love that Josh just had the trust in him to be able to get open from that because he's covered when he throws the ball. He's just trusting that Gabe is going to go to that spot where he puts it. And here's the chemistry on display where, back is facing Gabe Davis has his back facing the quarterback when the ball's released, and he turns around right to that spot where the football is. So, yeah, and what more can you say? But just an incredible play and an incredible game from both those two guys.
Yeah, they really put it all out on the field. They really left it all out there, and it's a shame we couldn't bring it home for the both of them. Honestly, that's where my heart hurts the most for those two guys. For Josh and Gabe, I mean, those guys, they had a hell of a game. They deserve better than that. Obviously, the whole city of Buffalo, all Bills fans, we all deserve better than that. The rest of the team, they all deserve better than that. But I mean, some things are meant to be. Sometimes what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and that's what Sean McDermott has been preaching. And hopefully that's the truth, man. Hopefully they're building from this because the mistakes that were made at the end are correctable. They're not mistakes that are going to keep happening. The people in this building are smarter than that. So we got to have faith in this team because, man, this team showed it on a down year. This was a year a lot of fans gave up on this team based on the expectations we had for this team coming into this season. And even with this outcome, I'd still argue they proved a lot of people wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the way that they played in those two playoff games, how could you say anything otherwise? Because, they got hot at the right time. And that's all that you need to do in any given season is just get hot at the right time. Pretty much the first half of the regular season, if you can get out of there with, 2 losses, fantastic. 3 losses, doable. But like those games just aren't quite as important. And then, you get to the middle section of the season, and that's when you need to start being able to get yourself ready and get yourself hot and be able to clean up the season in a way where you're able to get yourself into the playoffs with a lot of confidence. And that's exactly what the Bills did. It's what the Colts almost did, except they kind of blew it in week 18. But the Colts were a team that no one wanted to play in the playoffs because they were hot at the right time. And I think looking at this game, it's obviously neither of these guys wanted to play, or the Bengals probably didn't want to play either of these teams while they're watching this game. But yeah, that's the thing is the Bills are one of those teams where it's like, damn, I do not want to play them because they can do stuff like that. And now I think that Josh has kind of put that on display, especially in the playoffs with a lot of pressure on him, and he did everything he could. So yeah, it's people are overreacting. Shocker, I know. But anyway, let's move on. We're going to talk about my guy. I'm going to talk about Josh Allen later, but I wanted to talk about Taron Johnson first. I wanted to save the best for last, so Josh is going to wait. But Taron Johnson had a great game, and I think he was, probably one of the better performances on the defense. And this is kind of what this alludes a little bit to the comments that Silas was making about speed on the defense and about Tyreek Hill as well. Taron Johnson is and has been the one guy that the Bills like to use to cover Tyreek Hill one-on-one, and he does a really good job of it. And this is a good example here. First of all, this is a cross. So Kelsey goes over and Tyreek comes underneath. It's, a natural pick play. You're trying to get him to squeak under. He doesn't fall forward at all. Taron Johnson knows exactly what's coming. He travels with him, gets right in his hip pocket, makes a fantastic play on the football. Not much more you could ask for here. And, it's against a guy where running a quick slant route should be bread and butter for him because he's so fast and should be able to get away from guys like this. But he gets his hand in there, wraps himself around, and, doesn't do anything illegal, but just he's there, So just a really good play from him here. And yeah, he might be the cheetah killer on the team.
Oh, nice! You got the broadcast.
I got it because it's high definition.
It's a good angle for it.
It's a pretty good angle of the play as well. Yeah, Taron Johnson. I'll play the broadcast. He's over here. But yeah, the way he identifies, gets there, gets his hand up in the ball. It all happens so fast, but he's doing all of it so well.
Yeah, no, it's a really great job to switch there. Obviously, Dane didn't really get the memo there. He was kind of stuck to his man. He's kind of hyper focused on Hill right there. Yeah, he's got to be on Kelsey there in the flat. But Taron does a great job to see that overlapping, that pick play right there, the switch, and he's all over it, like you said. And honestly, it feels like, when I went back and watched the game, it really felt like the Chiefs were doing everything they could to get Hill on either Jackson or Levi.
Yeah.
And the Bills did their best to make sure Taron was on Hill as much as possible because, like it or not, and believe it or not, like, it's crazy how far we've come. But with Trey White out, Taron Johnson is our best cover corner. Yep. But he's so physical, he's got to play in the slot. So sometimes he's not going to be aligned with the best wide receiver on the opposing team. But, yeah, just a fantastic job here. And this is not the only play, hence why you're highlighting him. He really had a tremendous game and a tremendous season, really. He definitely fell asleep for like a middle portion of the season and fell asleep to those expectations. He still played fine, but he really had some eye-popping moments throughout the season, and they shouldn't be forgotten.
Yeah, definitely. He had a fantastic season all year, and I was very wrong to ever doubt him because I didn't think that he was a great cover corner, and he has just been very slowly proving me completely wrong because he's been fantastic all season.
But that's the key. It's been slowly. It has been a slow development for him, but he's got there. Like, he is there, and that's kind of the name of the game with a lot of these guys. The Bills have proven that they can draft and develop. We just kind of need to be patient for it, and fingers crossed that next guy to fall in line is AJ Epinesa or Boogie or Groot, guys like that. But sometimes you just got to be patient because guys are developing in Buffalo, and Taron, Phillips, Oliver, like, they are testaments to that statement.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the way that when he came into the league right away, he was a big hitter. We saw that he could do run fill, and he can be a weapon to Sean McDermott because you don't need an extra linebacker on the field. You can keep that corner out there because he can go into the box and kind of be that third linebacker for you. And to now add this element to his game of being able to cover like this, and this is more of his big hitting ability here, but to add to his ability and be able to cover the way that he is he's really turning himself into a very well-rounded corner now.
Yep.
So this next play here, this is it's a fairly simple play. He backpedals into his zone. He sees that the pass is in front of him, plants that foot, runs up, and delivers a shot to the chip guy over here. So not much else to it than just reading the play, seeing the ball, and delivering a hit. And I love when Taron Johnson gets the ability to kind of have a free shot on someone because he loves to hit people.
Yeah, I remember watching this play in broadcast, and I was like, oh, okay, Taron. Okay, nice. Show up here. All right. But this is the Chiefs didn't do a whole lot of this, like, dinking and dunking. They really wanted to go for those shot plays, and it's kind of evidently shown by how often Mahomes was rattled by pressure because he had to wait for plays to develop, and then he ended up just going off script. He was off script a lot of this game, really outside of maybe 5 to 10, somewhere in that window, 5 to 10 completions this game were quick little stick routes. And there weren't a lot of them, but when they happened, they were successful with it. I'm shocked they didn't go to him more, but this is really a great job by Taron to limit anything beyond this. Because,
Right.
yeah, like this play is going to be open. The way the
Mhm.
Bills are running their defense against the Chiefs, they're making sure those safeties are back. They're making sure they're not going to get beat over the top, because that's what you have to defend against the Chiefs. But that's going to leave this short dink and dunk underneath kind of stuff. It's going to be open. But Taron mitigates the gain as much as he possibly can. I don't know if this is first down, but I mean, 5 yards on first down, you live with it. You live with it. It's nothing backbreaking. Yes, they're ahead of schedule technically, but you can still get a yard back on the next play or what have you and get yourself back on schedule for the defense. So great job by Taron on this play.
Yeah, and there's not much you can do against a play like this when you're in zone
No.
coverage. He did everything that he could, and yeah, like you said, he prevented more of those yards from being gained.
Mm-hmm.
Next play, we're back into more so coverage here, and here he is again in the slot against Tyreek Hill, playing a little chase, and he's actually keeping up pretty well. I mean, he's falling behind slightly, but he's still right there. He's still in an area where if the ball was thrown, he can make a play on the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there's that speed. He's really running step for step with him. So it's impressive to see that he's, first of all, able to do that against a guy like Tyreek Hill. I love what they're doing with the safeties. You know, you got a safety over top to make sure that Tyreek Hill doesn't ever get over top of you. And, you know, ignoring the fact that Mahomes is just very freely able to run up the middle of the field because no one's there. Because it's man coverage and that happens. But it's just really good coverage by Taron Johnson here. And I think that that's a guy that, at least one of the guys, it looks like from what I can tell, Mahomes, as he's reading, as he's climbing the pocket here, he's looking Kelsey to Hill here. Kelsey being the first guy that he might want to look for, and he's not really open. He sees Tyreek also being double covered, both of these guys. So that's why he has to run it. But yeah, ended up being kind of a good gain for them as well. But
yeah, I mean, what are you gonna do? Sometimes, you know, Mahomes makes magic. That's kind of
yep.
his bread.
I mean,
and butter.
Josh was doing the same thing
Exactly.
all season. So you know, it's, if there's anyone who's familiar with that kind of play, it's Bills fans.
I gotta say though, on this play, it's really impressive what he's doing from a technical standpoint, knowing that they're in single high, they have one deep safety. He's making sure, obviously, the way Hill runs this route helps him, but he's making sure off the line of scrimmage, he is really hedging, making sure that Hill is running inside of him to run him into that safety, because if he gets outside of him, that safety help is not going to help as much on the boundary versus if you run him towards the safety. So good job to make sure you're really strong on that left foot on the press. Make sure he breaks inside of you and then get into trail technique, like you said. And he's falling behind, but I mean, who isn't going to fall behind?
Yeah, exactly. The
so,
fact that he's able to stay
impressive.
that close is impressive to me.
That's really all you're expecting most people to do, but
right.
that does go to the point.
He's covered. Like he's not gonna get a target because he's covered here. So
exactly, and that goes to the point of what Silas said earlier. I mean, this is why you want speed, so you don't really put guys in binds like this, where it's like you can trust a Dante Jackson free agent. Like he's a really fast corner. He might not be the most technically sound corner, but you can damn sure trust that he won't get beat over the top for the most part because he's got really great speed. That's the kind of element that I think a lot of people are hoping for this offseason in the secondary, just a hair more speed in that secondary, but it would cost us Levi Wallace more or less. That would probably be the trade-off there. So pick your poison. I think a lot of people are fed up with Levi after this game, but I'm not. I'm okay with re-signing him. I'd be okay letting him walk, but I think I'd prefer to re-sign him.
Yeah, I'm fine. I think with Levi Wallace, I'm also kind of fine either way. I think he's a solid corner. He's a good number 2. But Dane Jackson also has kind of shown that he can do that as well. So if it makes more financial sense for the Bills to just keep Dane Jackson and then, you know, try to go to another guy in the draft or free agency to fill that depth position, maybe that's what they want to do. But Levi might be that guy that's there to kind of fill us a depth position. And it just might be another cornerback 2 battle at camp again. And you know, for all we know, Dan could win this one, but Levi could beat him as well. Levi's won a lot of camp battles. So
hasn't lost yet, undefeated.
He hasn't lost yet. So, you know, good on him for that. So I wouldn't be, I'd be fine either way as well, as long as they need a third one regardless. That's all that I want. Who can start, who can be on the field regularly and perform. But beyond that, it's no worry of mine really. Here's another one. This is just another covering Tyreek Hill man to man. And on this one, I think he might have a little bit of jersey in his hand. But that's okay because he doesn't get called for it. And honestly, sometimes you got to do that. The Chiefs are doing it to the Bills a lot. I think I don't remember which game this was, but I think it was the first time they played. They were being very handsy and just not kind of letting anything, not letting anyone get past them. And sometimes it's okay to be a little bit handsy as long as you can keep it kind of in the center of the back there where he's got the jersey. You don't pull it at all. It's just kind of a way for you to stay close and not lose sight of your guy. And he does a good job of it. Once again, just staying in that hip pocket. And yeah, kind of running around with him too, staying with him after the fact. So yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree with everything you said on this one. I mean, it's very similar to the last one. It's impressive that he's keeping steps, he's keeping stride with Tyreek Hill on this, and even on the improvised motion on this, when you see him kind of like curl it up towards the top boundary, like Tyreek Hill is getting open here, but he's still pretty close. You know, he's not too far off. Should the throw have gone that way, he may have been able to recover on that. But speaking to the holding point, I gotta say, I really liked how this game was officiated. I really liked that they allowed everyone to just play. I really like, it's a playoff game. This is a really big game. Like, they called that one hold on Dane Jackson. I didn't love that one because it's very similar to this one where it's just like people hold in coverage. Like, unless it's egregious, don't call it. And I think they kind of got the message after that one. They were just like, all right, like this isn't much. Like, there's no reason to be calling this. It's just going to change the outcome of the game. So let's hands off. Let's let them play. And that's what they did. So I honestly enjoyed how the refs officiated this game.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I mean, there was a little bit of a jersey pull with the Dane one. It was kind of a soft call, but yeah, it's something that you can get away with a decent amount. Do I have one more? I have one more, Taron Johnson. This one I like because this is just such a physical defensive rep from him. Just gets right in. That's either Pringle or Hardman. I can't remember. It looks like Pringle maybe. Who's one of the bigger guys that they have. He's one of the bigger wide receivers on their roster, and he just gets right in his face and says, "Yeah, this is press man. Get used to it." And then Patrick Mahomes has to fire it like a missile because he's being covered pretty tightly, so he's got to put a little zip on it. Can't just float it out there, and because of that, it's a little bit high and away and too tough to catch. But yeah, I love that physicality that he's got here to basically just completely jam him up at the line. And then even still, I'll pause it when they get into screen here. He's right on him the whole time afterward. And yeah, he had to kind of throw it fast up and away there to keep it away from Taron Johnson. And that's why I think it's probably incomplete. It could have been catchable still. Would have been a fantastic catch because that was a screamer.
Yeah, this is a really good example of him just keeping stride for stride. Once again, like, yeah, there's going to be a little hold here or there, but he's keeping stride. It's really just, that press technique off the rip, like right off the line of scrimmage. That's a really good job to stymie your guy and make sure he's not getting a clean release and really getting away from you. Because if you can slow him down a little bit off the release, Pringle's not a slow guy, but if you can make sure he doesn't get to accelerate right off the snap and he's not getting a head start on you, so to speak, it goes a long way towards staying in stride and staying in phase and coverage. And really great job by him because he is isolated on this crosser because of this like double crosser, like trail concept where you have Tyreek as the first drag route and then Pringle as the slant behind it. I mean, Edmonds is just forced to take Hill. I mean, Hill is the threat on this offense and he sees him crossing. So Edmonds going to take him, but then that isolates Taron. And because of the great coverage right there, it makes it a very tough catch for Pringle and he couldn't come down with it. So yeah, really great job by the defense on this to execute.
Yeah, and all the way across the board. And I'm going to go to the other angle just real quick to kind of see where Mahomes' eyes were going here because he was looking over that direction a little bit before, kind of glanced at Tyreek. Yeah, did he peek at Pringle a little bit earlier as well? Trying to think maybe I can throw that here. Because he might
have been going to the top side. Go back to the sideline and see. Yeah, he might have been. I don't know who that is, but whoever's on the top side of the screen, little slant route there. But
it's hard to
maybe
tell.
He was worried that Taron was going to peel off of that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, either way, at the time that he looks there and pump fakes there, if you throw it to this guy, probably at this spot is where you're aiming for. It's got to go right through where Taron is anyway.
That's probably why he pulled it.
Yeah, exactly. So. yeah, it was just a great play all around here. Really, no complaints.
Yeah, I'm glad we got him locked up. That's a good one, especially considering our lack of depth, I guess we'll call it, in the cornerback department. So definitely glad
Right.
we got him locked up. Yet another steal by Brandon Bean. I think that was a
Definitely, yeah.
third rounder out of Weber State, like right
Mhm.
up the road from me. It's impressive find. That's not a big time program. That's a good find. And taking a risk on a guy playing lower level competition.
They like
That
doing that, though.
Yeah, and I mean, if he's got the work ethic, which
Mhm.
everyone says he does, he's a gym rat. Like, why wouldn't you believe in a guy like that to develop? And he has. He's done nothing but develop since he's been here. Talk about linear progression. I think I think he's been the model for linear progression, like we kind of alluded to earlier. He's been very slowly ascending, but he is ascending the entire way. He has been ascending the entire time. All right. So this is the moment that everyone's gonna hate me, and I just know it. But we're talking about Tremaine Edmonds. And I know a lot of people are upset with Tremaine Edmonds after this game, and they want a linebacker that's making more plays, and they're upset with Milano for not making enough plays in this game. And I agree, both of them didn't have the greatest game, but the motto I'm sticking with for Edmonds and Milano, take the good with the bad, because that's what we took with Allen, and it paid dividends. You got to take the good with the bad, because the bad gives you learning experiences. So hopefully he's learning from all these moments, but some of them are good. Some of them you just got to tip your cap to the offense. And I think that's going to be a trend with this, at least a decent amount of this. And I'm going to acknowledge these aren't great plays by him. These are things that he has to be better with. But you also have to tip your cap to the offense, because this play is just a simple stick route, like we talked about earlier. The Bills are in cover 4 here, and he's just responsible for this deep, or I don't want to say deep, but intermediate level in the middle here. So he identifies Kelsey early, and he sees that he's sitting down on this hash right here. So he goes over to him, right? He takes his eyes off of him because he's in zone coverage. He takes his eyes off of him and he looks at Mahomes. And the second he does that, the savvy route understanding of Kels to understand that he's not just going to sit there and allow his route to be taken away from him. He sees that his head is turned, and Kelsey gets right behind him and gets into the open window. Yeah, it was an incompletion and nothing was made of it, but it still goes to show that you got to keep your eyes on the prize here. I understand you're in zone coverage and you got to keep your eyes on Mahomes. And let me double check when this was. This was quarter 1 with 6 minutes and 3 seconds left. So I'm not sure there's been a lot of Mahomes running magic to this point, aside from that big run. So yeah, they might have been a little bit skittish to take their eyes off of Mahomes because of how much he was running in this game. But still, like, who the threats are in this offense. It's Kelsey, it's Hill. You got to make sure you're blanketed on them. And he does a good job initially, but taking his eyes off of him was just the kiss of death.
Yeah, and he takes so long to recover, and he's had this issue before where he kind of, I feel like, gets tunnel visioned in on the quarterback and isn't able to really like feel where the guys are around him, like some other guys are that are better at zone coverage. They kind of just can see out of the corner of their eye, or just have a sense of where the guy is around them. But yeah, he's got a real issue of kind of getting really too locked in on the quarterback and the quarterback's eyes, and just following wherever those eyes take him.
And I totally agree with that. I mean, to an extent, yeah, you have to have that innate feel for the game and understanding the routes that are going on behind you. But to an extent, the guy can't have eyes in the back of his head.
Mhm.
But like you said, I mean, there is something to this. If he doesn't have the feel, he doesn't have the feel. But
Right.
really, technically speaking, I mean, he does a good job to see the route here. He's just so decisive about getting out there and taking the route away that he makes
Right.
an entirely new window.
Yeah.
If he does this and say right here, he acknowledges the route is there, and then he just slowly shuffles over instead of being so aggressive to take away the window, because then he's holding with Mahomes's eyes. He's not like completely opening up a completely new window in the middle of the
Mhm.
field. And obviously it's hindsight 2020. It can be talked about in circles, but yeah, technically speaking, I think a lot of people have talked about how it seems like he plays with not enough decisiveness and he doesn't have enough instincts and all that stuff. And this shows, like, I mean, against lesser quarterbacks, like, he might have made a play here. he might have taken
Mhm.
away that
Yeah.
stick route and he could have taken us to the house. But,
Right.
against a guy like Mahomes, he's not just going to go for that quick, okay, 1-2 step drop. There's my guy. He's not Davis Mills.
Right.
So you got to take it with a grain of salt, but understand it can be better.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. And we'll have to see how, if he's able to improve something like that, because, how many things can you work on until, I I understand how that he's young, and he's not going to be perfect and everything. And I know that he's better than the average Bear, but yeah, I think after this season is going to be very telling of his development and where he's at, because I think it's going to be a pretty big make or break year for him.
I 100% agree. It's what I said with this year, and he just gave us more of the same. So it is kind of now onto this next year where it's like, all right, now it's officially make or break.
Yeah.
I keep pushing it down the road, but he's giving so much like good and also bad that he just kind of keeps pushing the assessment and evaluation down the road further, which is kind of worrisome for the organization. But hey, that's what the 5th year option is for. So now that we get that true evaluation in year 5. All right, so play number 2 here. Clay, I'm curious if you're going to remember this, but this looks exactly like our first film session. Just a deep crosser with Kels right behind Edmonds, and he just doesn't shuffle with him fast enough. And there's really not much more to this other than he identifies that he's crossing right behind him, right? He identifies that he's crossing, but he's not keeping stride with him to the point where he's taking away the window. And I understand, his responsibility is that middle of the field, and there is a wide receiver there who's breaking back towards the middle of the field, and he's opening up a window over there. But once again, you got to take away the biggest threat, and the biggest threat is Kelsey and Hill. And when Kelsey's coming into your zone, you got to plaster him. So, yeah, he keeps his eyes on the quarterback again, and I'll show you the anticipation from Mahomes because, yeah, it could have been done better by Edmonds, but once again, you kind of got to tip your cap because he's making the throw here. And I'll point it out. That's Kelsey's front foot. That's Edmonds' front foot. It's just a good throw, man. Like, that's just a good throw and catch, but, the play could have been denied because Edmonds is in great position to make this play, right? He's absolutely in position to make this play, but he can't. He just can't. And that's what fans want to see more from him. And I see Josh coming in saying, man, Edmonds killed us this game. I'll be honest. I watched the whole game focusing on Edmonds, and I agree. He left some meat on the bone, but he is not the reason we lost this game. Like, there are so many people that we could be pointing fingers at and assigning blame. He left some plays on the table to negate some offensive production from the Chiefs, but he's not the reason we lost. Milano isn't the reason we lost.
Yeah.
The kick isn't the reason we lost. The prevent isn't. It's all of it, man. It's all of it. It's all got to be tweaked just a little bit better. We can't just point to one player and say, cut him, replace him. We can find something better. Everyone's just got to be a little bit better. And if everyone can incrementally improve, really, what's the problem? Because we had this game won. We have all the horses in place to win this race. It's just time to win it.
Yeah, and I think everyone had their fair share of plays where they were not perfect. And, I don't know who else on the D do you blame? You can blame a little bit of everybody. I highlighted Taron Johnson. There were a couple of plays where Taron Johnson, did an okay job, but against Patrick Mahomes, and in the case of where he fell short a little bit, it was Travis Kelce. It's just really, really hard to beat these guys sometimes. Like I think the position that Edmonds is in here, having to cover a guy from a zone coverage like that, who's coming across the middle, a guy like Kelce and a quarterback like Mahomes, for all he knows, Mahomes could pump fake to the outside, trying to get him to open his hips to go out more. But then Kelce stops and sits in the zone behind him, because once he's behind him, he doesn't see him anymore. So he just kind of has to feel it a little bit. I'd almost want him to, in this kind of coverage, knowing that he's the only one in the middle. If someone
just turn and look at Kelce.
Yeah, I kind of just want him to just turn and run with him and get in his hip pocket here instead of trying to play it like it's his zone coverage. Because if you open up the middle, I mean,
you open up the middle.
Because he would have opened up the middle if he turned his hips too. That's the thing, is there's no right answer. on how to defend against Mahomes and Kelsey sometimes, because they're just really good. And when they execute something perfectly, kind of like they do here, and this is a play that's like their bread and butter for them.
Yeah, it
Like
really
Kendall
is.
said, we've seen it before. They're very good at it, and yeah, you can't. Sure, Edmonds could have made the play. Would have been a fantastic play.
Yeah, it really would have had to be a fantastic play. And really what you said about how it gets to the point where it's like, if he does this, it opens up something else. I have a play in here, which I think a lot of fans will remember, and they probably blamed Edmonds for. It's the same kind of thing. Like, if he does one thing, Mahomes is so good, he'll just pivot off of that and counter it. And then to Josh's point, saying who else are you going to blame? I mean, think about all the times Mahomes was dead to rights in the pocket and defensive linemen just couldn't finish and get that sack. I mean, there's a lot of people that just left meat on the bone for this game. You can't sit here and blame one guy, but I have to agree with everyone. As much as a stan as I have been for Tremaine Edmonds, I want him to play better. I want him to be better in these moments because he's capable of it. It's just, leaving that meat on the bone.
I think this is a pretty good description of it. He's not the game changer we expected him to be. Doesn't mean he's a bust. Doesn't mean he's a bad player, because he's not.
Yes,
He's not
exactly.
a bust. He's not a bad player. He's a good player, but he's just not what we wanted him to be when we drafted him at the position we did.
100%. I think everyone can agree with that he's not what we wanted him to be, but there's still time for him to become at least shades of what we want him to be. And in that sense, that will be a victory, because middle linebacker is a very, very important position in this defense, especially when you only got two of them. He's got to be on his A game, and especially against a team like the Chiefs. So yeah, we'll move on to the third play here. And I'll start giving you some good, but this is one of the more upsetting ones. And I know a theme with the first two have been tipping your caps to the offense and how good the offense is. This is another one of those. But we do need to pinpoint what Edmonds did wrong here. And he does a good job acknowledging what the tight end is doing on this play here. So the tight end is starting out in line over here, but he's going to come towards the inside, right A gap, and essentially lead block for his running back here. And Creed Humphrey, I'm going to go straight to the end zone camera. Creed Humphrey does a good job double teaming here. I don't even know who this defensive lineman is for us. Double teaming here and then climbing to the next level to make sure he's blocking Edmonds, right? The design is to go straight up the hash. But Edwards-Helaire does a great job to bounce it to that B gap, that left B gap, and just take it up the field. And yes, Edmonds is responsible for that gap, and he should have been there, but he acknowledged where the design was going, and he tried to decisively take it away like a lot of people want him to do. A lot of people want him to play downhill, play decisive, play aggressive, make a play in the backfield. That's what he's trying to do on this play. But if you do that too hard, you're susceptible to the bounce outside. And yeah, you could give a little bit of this to Basham, getting a little too wide on this, making it easy read for Clyde here. But I'll show you back on the end zone camera. You can see how much depth he's getting towards the line of scrimmage, and it really takes away his angle that right there to get any sort of contain on this left B gap here. So tough play for Edmonds on this one. Tough rep. Definitely left some meat on the bone, like I've been saying, but you got to tip your cap to the offensive line here from the Chiefs and Edwards-Helaire to break it outside, have the vision, and then have the acceleration to get upfield like that.
Yeah, and it is a good play by Edwards-Helaire, and he kind of set up a block there basically by getting Edmonds into that gap, and once he saw that space, he just made a nice cut and got out there. But yeah, it's tough when you have to, sometimes you're assigned to cover two gaps. And I don't know if that was if that gap was supposed to be for Milano, but like you said, he's dissecting where the blocking is taking the play and his instincts took him there, and it's not bad instincts. If you try to take it through the hole,
Right.
he would have been stopped right there by him. But yeah, it's they made a good play on offense, and sometimes that comes with the territory when you've got a team like that can spread you out so much. You can only put two linebackers in the box, and you have to have guys covering more than one gap. So it makes the job you're also asking Tremaine Edmonds is very difficult. So
Exactly.
yeah.
I think that's the context I've been trying to push all year. It's like the position he gets put in play after play after play, he's going to be the center of blame. He's just going to be. And he's the center of the camera when you're watching on broadcast. It just makes sense to blame him because he's the one you see and he's available. He's the most unblocked. He has the most chance to make a play on most plays, but he is consistently put in a difficult position. And because he's so athletic and he's so gifted, the Bills defense trusts him to make these plays. And while he might not make them more than he doesn't, he makes enough to keep the position that he has. And I think that's the bottom line. But I'll move on to the next play here because the next play is literally learning from this play. This is literally learning from exactly what happened, right? So on that last play, he was too decisive getting into that A gap where right here he is setting his feet. I'll make sure it's a little less blurry. He's setting his feet right in that A gap and he's trying to take it away. He's trying to force that bounce outside, but he doesn't get too downhill to the point where he's taking himself out of the play. He stays in the play, he stays patient, and he works around the traffic, make sure he doesn't get caught in that trash, and he makes the play himself. You can see it on this angle that he's not getting too deep. He's getting deep enough to make it feel for Edwards-Helaire that he should bounce it outside similarly, because this is a split zone block from 81. He's coming across. He's going to take away Rousseau, and there's going to be a clear alley right here. And Edmonds slow plays it really well, and he gets right into the design run gap. So really great job on this one because it really shows how you can learn from a mistake and make it better in one game. This is what you want to see from a young guy like this. Development in game, not just development through a season.
Yeah, yeah, this is a good play by Ed Oliver as well to
Yeah, it is.
to kind of he's controlling his guy pretty well here and making a nice play. But yeah, this is something where it's nice to see that he doesn't overcommit on things because I feel like that has been an issue of his before. And yeah, stays patient, makes a nice play on this one.
So I'm going to move on here to the play I alluded to, which was where you saying Chiefs offense is so good in a way where no matter what Milano does, he's going to be wrong, right? So on this play, this is the 4th and 1 that they broke for 20 yards. And I think everyone, rightfully, is going to blame Edmonds on this one. He is at the focal point of this play, right? But no matter what Edmonds does on this play, he is going to be wrong. That is the design of this play. It's the fake fullback dive. Edmonds diagnoses it is not a fullback dive. He knows what's going on. He knows he has to get out on the edge for this rollout. And he tries to take away the running back. He tries to get in that lane. But because of how much Mahomes has beat them with their legs this game, I'm sure it was in his mind. He also had to take away Mahomes. This was just a 4th and 1. He had to press. He had to make sure he didn't give him 1 yard of separation because he was going to get that first down. He picks Mahomes and it leaves McKinnon open. There's really not much more to this than this play is schemed by Andy Reid to make one player make a tough decision. Otherwise, it's going to force someone other than Edmonds making an unbelievable instinctual play. Like I don't even want to put Dane Jackson in that position because he's sticking with Kelsey on this one. Because if he peels off Kelsey and takes McKinnon, Kelsey's wide open for the first down. There's no one available to make this play other than Edmonds, but you need 2 guys there if you're going to stop this play. But we had too many guys devoted to stopping the inside rush on this play.
Yeah, and I'm assuming Edmonds has because Edmonds doesn't immediately kind of shoot the gap and he's more patient. I'm assuming that in a passing assignment he has to cover the running back, and that's why he's a little, he sees that running back go and he says, "Well, I got to go with him." And I'd have to say I think I would rather if him just stick to his running back, because if he does stick to his running back, you've got Taron Johnson coming back through in that cutback lane, and he might have been able to get Patrick Mahomes. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is very difficult to tackle in the open field, so it's not a guarantee that he gets him. But yeah, it is a tough one where it's like, this guy's right in my face here, and I want to make a play on him. But I think I would have rather him just stick with it, stick with your man, do your assignment, and because I don't know. Taron Johnson, it looks like his assignment is to crash in, because he does that very instantly.
Yeah.
He gets pushed in by Kelsey as well, so that doesn't help him. But he is there kind of to be able to cover up for that, and I think that's part of his assignment too, is to be a contained guy there. So knowing that you've got a contained guy there, it's difficult to do, but I think you just got to stick with your guy there, and maybe that play doesn't happen. But once again, it's very tough. Mahomes probably just would have done a floater over top anyway, and it wouldn't have been a problem because he would have outran Edmonds because it's a running back versus a linebacker. So
Exactly. Yeah, it's really tough to play the what if game on this play specifically because, like, if I pause it right here, it shows like Edmonds is stride for stride with McKinnon. He's got a chance to take that away, and I think right here, I mean, Taron still hasn't gotten out of that break yet. Like, he's just now getting out of his break. And I think Taron definitely has the closing speed to make up that distance there.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great point. Like, if he stayed on his assignment there, he could have shortened down that run gap there for Mahomes and taken it away. But yeah, it's just a really tough play to take away one or the other in this situation. It puts Edmonds in a bind. But I definitely agree with you. I think sticking to the assignment, because like you said, right off the snap, you can tell Edmonds is supposed to be on that running back. That is his first instinct. He wants to go with McKinnon. And thank you, Namdi. That is really what I'm trying to get across with this. Andy Reid won this play. It's just a great design. It really is. All right, so we're going to get on to the last play here from Edmonds, and I'm going to leave you guys on a good note with Edmonds. Whether you like it or not, I wanted to show this play because it was impactful and it kept the Bills in the game. This is a first down here, and the Bills ended up forcing a field goal on this set of downs. So on this first down here, we see Edmonds is just sitting in the middle of the zone here. And he kind of sees that it's turning into improvisational magic, and he just gets himself plastered to McKinnon. And like you said, linebacker on running back, especially if it's McKinnon, this is a mismatch. And we've seen this is a mismatch like all year with Edmonds. He doesn't do well sticking with running backs, but he does it well on this play here. He sticks with him, and it forces a sack. It forces a 1 yard loss, which puts them behind schedule and eventually forces them to kick a field goal, opening a window for the Bills to come back and win this game. And you can see on this specific angle here, you can see he wants to go.
He
there.
thought
And
about
he
it. Yeah.
already did this once in this game with the shovel pass to McKinnon on a very, very similar play, but Milano was on him. And he didn't like it this time, so he tried to make something else of it, and nothing else happened of it. So really good job by Edmonds on that one. I got us the cone of death. But I wanted to leave you guys with that because he does make an impact. He does make an impact on the game, whether you like it or not. It's not as much impact as even I want him to make. Like I try to tell you guys, I'm trying to stay as objective as possible with this, but I do believe in Edmonds. So there is a nature of me kind of buttering him up a little bit more to be than what he is, but he's still got potential to improve. He still shows that he can impact the defense positively. Like you said, Clay, it's make or break now. It is make or break. It's the 5th-year option. He's really got to prove that he is an impact player on this defense if he wants to stick around.
Yeah, absolutely. And, like we've said before, that is a tall order because it's a very involved position, that middle linebacker position in the Sean McDermott defense. You have to be very, very smart, very instinctual, fast, athletic, strong. You have to be everything. So, if he was in a different system, he might be a fantastic
That's
linebacker.
That's the main thing. Namdi's been putting this in here. I believe he will prove at Sam. And I couldn't agree more. He would be a really, really good Sam.
Yeah.
He doesn't necessarily show the greatest pass rushing chops, but I think he fits best at Sam given his length, his athleticism, his physicality, all that kind of stuff. He would fit best there, but the Bills don't play a defense with a Sam. We have a Mike and a Will, and we have Taron Johnson. That's our defense. So it's just kind of unfortunate that he's technically not in a system that plays to his strengths, but it plays to some of his strengths. So we kind of just got to squeeze as much as we can out of that fruit, and hopefully we can get enough to suffice for what we want.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, it's kind of just a waiting game at this point.
Yeah.
Like we said before, I think this might be the year that this really is the make or break one now, where it's you gotta show us who you are. So
Seriously. Yep.
all right, let's move on now, since we've already
Positives,
yes,
baby.
we're ending on a big positive on the day, because we're going to talk about Josh Allen and the game that he had. We already saw a few highlights from him earlier, but one of the things I want to talk about is, and this is something that we kind of talked about in the preview as well, is I love how decisive Josh Allen was early in this game. And this is a good example of that, and how he's taking what the defense is giving him, because on this play here, Diggs is coming open on this deep in route here, and he could take it. He's got to squeeze it over this linebacker. There's a safety up top who, could make a break for the ball. So it's like, yeah, I could go to this and I could probably make the throw, but I don't have to, because Devin Singletary is right down here. He can catch the ball and run with it, and he gets 2 yards short of where I wanted to be if I threw the ball to Diggs anyway. Diggs is going to catch the ball at around the 12 and probably get tackled right there. Singletary ends up on the 14. So I really, really like that early game, especially. We saw a lot of dump off passes to Devin Singletary and just let him go do his thing. And that's exactly what I wanted from him early game. And that's what we got. So yeah, his decision making all day was just phenomenal.
Yeah, this has been something we've been preaching since the second Patriots game. This like decisiveness to take the check down while the second level is still dropping into their zone. It's huge. It gives Singletary a chance to run after the catch. Like you said, outside of Singletary and like maybe even Diggs, like there's not much run after the catch option. I guess McKenzie, but like, the way we use him, it's kind of schemed where it's like run after the catch is really everything
Right.
for him. But I mean, really outside of those guys, there isn't much of that on this offense. So you got to squeeze as much out of the fruit as you can. And this is an option to do that. And furthermore, doing it early and often opens up that second and third level of the defense. And that's what it's been doing for this offense. The run game, the quick, short passing, it's been opening up Josh Allen's strengths. And lastly, I feel like Josh Allen put in a little extra zip on this one. It wasn't the hardest thrown ball. Obviously, we know how hard he can throw the football, but I've seen him throw this ball and Singletary drop it multiple times where he's putting a little bit of zip on it through the lineman, and Singletary kind of like loses vision of it between the linemen and kind of catches it last second, and it just gets right off his fingertips, what have you. But I mean, yeah, Richard puts it in here. Singletary didn't look slow there. No, he points out the linebacker and he just runs right by him, man. Like Singletary has really improved this year, getting him the ball in space, getting him the ball traditionally just as a running back. It's really been doing so much for Josh Allen. It's been unburdening him of so much of the offensive pressure, and it's really been going a long way.
Yeah, I love the blocking downfield by Dawson Knox as well. I just want to point that out. Doing a nice job of kind of opening up this lane that Singletary can run through, just kind of run behind me, get a couple extra yards out of it. So love that from Knox on this one. But yeah, Devin Singletary too, looking fast here. Namdi talking about that burst. This play is just a fantastic. This is like a perfect RPO, because it's pretty well covered. I mean, the fact that he decided to make the decision, it's because the linebackers vacate. So, on this, you're looking to see, are these linebackers going to go ahead and flow with the direction of the run that we're trying to do here? And if they do, that opens up that window behind for me to throw this football. So he notices those linebackers are shuffling along with Devin Singletary, and he likes that enough to go ahead and give Beasley a chance. And these guys are even. I mean, you could even say Beasley maybe is a step behind while Josh is throwing this ball and just puts it on an absolute rope right to where it needs to be. Perfect pass coming out of it. And that is just, it's hard to do, man, to pull the ball like that. So first of all, you have to pull the ball out of a guy's stomach and then immediately flip your hips, get ready to throw the ball. And he just does such a good job. I love the way that he's able to throw from different, stances, different platforms now. It's just so amazing.
Yeah, he's come such a long way. I mean, the RPO game is really where you see all of that like arm talent really come into play where
Mhm.
like you said off platform, not necessarily truly shoulder square to the target, all of that like breaking all the high school quarterback rules. He's really just breaking all of them and showing that, sometimes they don't matter when you're Josh Allen. And I mean, this play is just incredible. Like you said, I mean, you said it before on this show when we're leaving. What about when you're
Mhm.
behind? Because when you're
Yeah.
behind, apparently you're open with Josh Allen. I mean, this is good coverage. Like you said, it's good coverage. It's just a better throw.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's really nothing more beyond that. Like it's except this, you just got beat, and this is the thing too. When we're talking about our defense against a guy like Mahomes, it's like these things happen where it's just, yeah, you did a pretty good job, but those guys are just really good. So,
Right. Like you
um,
don't you don't look at that play and say that slot corner really
right,
messed up on that play. It's like, no,
right.
give some credit to Josh Allen here.
Right. I'll bring up the comment here from OG Brooklyn. We need studs and speed on defense. Period. And I'll agree with that. I like studs and speed on my defense. So you can't go wrong with getting
No,
more
you
of
can't.
those. More
You
speed at the
cannot.
cornerback position, even more at the linebacker position would be pretty wild. But yeah, there's a couple pieces that the Bills could add and make their defense even scarier.
Yeah.
Um, Next Josh Allen play. This we're just gonna kind of marvel at this one a little bit for a second because this is just a completely insane throw, a completely insane decision to make this throw. Um, why I love it so much is the Chiefs just scored a touchdown. I think they just took the lead, even maybe, or tied the
I'll
game
double
up. I can't
check.
remember at this point, but the Chiefs had just scored, and so the Bills get the ball back, and this is the first play from scrimmage after that Chiefs touchdown. And Josh Allen just drops back and decides to throw it, beautifully 45 yards in the air to a Gabe Davis, hits him in stride over the safety's head. It's such a beautiful throw. But the reason why I love this play even more than the beautiful throw is the fact that he chose to throw it. This is just a big balls play by Josh because he has every option in the world. You can see as he's beginning his drop back. Let me see how close I can get here. As he's beginning his drop back, he's looking over to this side over here. He wants to take a look and see how Diggs is doing. Diggs is covered up. He sees Dawson Knox is open in the check down if he needs to come back to that. Then he takes a look at the other side and he can see both these guys at the same time. You would think with every situation like this, you're throwing a Dawson Knox over the middle. He's wide open. Look at this guy wide open over the middle. Just give it a little bit of air to get it over this linebacker into this massive empty space, and you've got yourself a solid 20-yard gain off of that play. But Josh decides, and I'll try to pause it. He's well past decision point here. His foot is planted and he's throwing the football, and Gabe Davis is 2 yards behind. So I think there might be something to what you were saying, Kendall, about even leaving. What about if you're behind? Yeah, with Josh Allen, if you're behind, you're still open. And both these guys are already running. He sees, this is Thornhill over here. He sees Josh is going to throw it his direction, and he starts dropping back with it right now. And Gabe Davis still beats him because it's a perfect throw. He puts it right over the top of Thornhill. He can't read it over the shoulder like that. It's very, very tough to read a football coming over your shoulder. So, Micah Hyde maybe would have made this play because he's one of those guys, but your average everyday safety is not going to be able to do it. And that's why this play to me just says everything that you need to know about Josh Allen, where he says, you know what? You guys just scored on me. I can get this 20 yards, or I can dump a touchdown right over your safety's head here, and we can talk about that instead.
Yeah, I just went and checked. This was the ensuing possession after the Chiefs went up 23-14 late in the third quarter.
Yeah.
At this point, hope is lost. Like you're just like, we can't stop them. Like, we've kind of sputtered out on offense a couple of times now in this half. We got to get something going now. And Josh Allen says, all right, right now, yeah, I'll get it in 7 seconds. Like, this is incredible. He is just built different. Like you said, most people are taking the check down. Most people are taking Dawson Knox on that deep dig, right? Wide open in the middle of the field. And the beautiful thing about this offensive system is that deep dig held Thornhill just enough
Yeah.
to make it so Davis is behind, but he's open.
Yeah.
Just held him up enough where Davis has the momentum advantage over Thornhill in that area. And it's going to be hard to accelerate and get to that football if you're not at full speed like Gabe Davis was, because Josh Allen's got a rocket arm. Like I said, he is built different. He is built for Buffalo, and boy, am I glad to have him.
Yeah, and I want to address this comment because if he throws an incompletion here, I wouldn't say take the check down. I'd say throw the friggin' Dawson Knox in the middle of the field because he's wide open. But it's the fact that he chose to do it and threw a perfect ball, which just makes this play so insane. Because that's the thing is like, if he threw it incomplete, that would have sucked, and we would have, I would have been like, "What the hell are you doing?" I guess, well, he's trying to take a shot. It's a first down. I don't have a problem with him taking a shot here at all. I'd probably say, well, overthrow him, and that's all you got to do. But he doesn't need to. He just says, "Yeah, I'm just going to drop it over," and yeah, I mean, this was
perfect throw.
This was probably my favorite, other than Davis's, other than the fourth touchdown that Davis scored. This was definitely my favorite play of the game because it really just brought the Bills' momentum back in a huge way.
Momentum. This was a momentum play. Like when this play happened, I was like, we're still in this game. Like this game is still very much in hand because we have Josh Allen. So yeah, it's just crazy how much momentum can play into this, because I feel like the Chiefs at this moment felt like they were really in control of this game, but it's really crazy how fast that momentum can be shifted when you can make throws like this.
Yeah. I think I got one more here. Oh, we can watch from this angle again too, so we can really appreciate the eyes here. Looking this way, sees what he's got going on. Looks here. We know he sees Dawson Knox. He's looking right through him to look at Gabe Davis, and he says, "Yeah, we're gonna go for that." That's just, man, that's such a good angle. Yeah, just one of those plays. Last play for Josh. This is the 4th and 4, and this is just Josh, man. 4th and 4, Josh, go make us a play. All right, just go do something. And Spencer Brown did have a bit of a rough game at times in this one, and this is one of those plays where he definitely lost his rep. Just getting kind of thrown to the ground here. Really, Josh was fully ready to run through this
to climb
to climb the pocket and go into this gap here, and he wanted to do that because he thought this rusher was going to be coming around the edge, and that was going to open up so he could run out. And not a bad decision because everyone's kind of covered at that first level here. There's no one to really throw to yet, and you've already got pressure in your face. So he cuts in, jumps back out, he dodges a couple tackles, and then does a little stutter to get himself available and go and get that first down. I mean, the first one was a momentum getter, and this one was a momentum keeper because plays like this are just so demoralizing to a defense. And I think I hope I kept it in here. Sorensen's body language after the fact, because he's the one that gets there right at the line, and he's just like dejected a little bit. And now I've got the orange coat of death here. I screwed up, but just Josh Allen being Josh Allen and making plays like that, just being the athlete that he is. I was going to say there's no one like him. There's one guy like him. They are two of a kind, those two quarterbacks that we're playing. And like I've said, both of them were ascended to a different level of existence. They were not in the same dimension as us regular people during that game. They were doing something special. And regardless of the outcome and how terrible that was, we witnessed one of the most incredible games of football in history. So,
yeah. 100%. They both played up to each other's level. They were challenging each other to be better throughout that game. I mean, post game, we saw how Mahomes literally went right up to him and gave him a hug and all the respect in the world. Like you can tell they just respect the hell out of each other. And they're both undying competitors. So obviously they're not going to stop until the game is all, won. But man, what a game. Like it's so hard to accept the fact that was probably the best football game I've ever watched in my life. Yeah. And it was a loss. Like, it's so tough, but like, I don't know, try to have the perspective that was perhaps the greatest football game you may ever see. That
Yeah.
was incredible. And I mean, I remember like thinking back earlier in this season, and I was like, man, that game against the Titans, that was like one of the better football games I've ever seen the
It's a
Buffalo
great
Bills.
game.
Like, we lost that game, but that
Yeah.
was one of the best Buffalo Bills football game, most entertaining, like neutral
Mm-hmm.
watcher.
Yep.
That's the most entertaining game I've seen in a while. And then this game happened. It's like, oh my God. Like, that's just kind of the way the Bills are built now with Josh Allen. It's built for excitement. It's built to be really fun football. And that's the Josh Allen factor.
Yeah. And it's just so amazing still the way that he developed and, everything around him when he was picked. And it's just fantastic that he's the dude that he is. And yeah, we're very lucky to have a guy like Josh Allen. And because we have a guy like him, we'll be back, and we're gonna have to start getting ready for these matchups with the Chiefs because they're not gonna stop. I mean,
No.
we are going to see the Chiefs at some point, unless I guess maybe once in a blue moon. There might be a few years here and there throughout where one team's got a bad defense or no supporting guys on their offense around them, but expect to see these two guys playing against each other in the playoffs quite frequently because they're not going to lose to a lot of teams. So sooner or later they're going to meet, and it's going to be entertaining every time. Hopefully not this entertaining, maybe like an entertaining, like, wow, that was a great game until the Bills pulled away at the end there type of entertaining. But yeah, we're lucky and cursed at the same time.
Yeah, we're getting there though. That's the thing. It's like I put this out there on Twitter. Like, I urge everyone to have perspective because like the last 4 years of watching the Buffalo Bills has been so amazing for me. Like, and I'm not gonna allow one defeat like this to make me forget all the 20 years prior of just utter disappointment and mediocrity. I just appreciate what we have and the fact that it sucks that it ended in the way that it did, but it's not going to end this way all the time. And these guys are still so motivated. Like, I don't know, Clay, if you watched a lot of the post season pressers and all that stuff, but man, they are defeated. You can tell they are all like so supportive of one another, and they want nothing more. They wanted nothing more than to win it this year because they knew that they're going to bring back a lot of pieces, but they're not going to be able to bring back everyone that's so integral to what they built here. And for that reason, they're all very emotional in that building, and they wish they could have got it done this year. But I mean, those most major pieces are still intact, so it's still going to be possible for years to come.
Yeah. I want to bring this up, and I'm sorry, David, I'm not trying to single you out. I'm using you as more of an example. But, tired of moral victories and losing. That's fair because, losing sucks. Nobody's happy about this.
Not at all.
I still feel like shit. I'm still like, I still get sick to my stomach, like thinking about it. Because it sucks. Like, we should be in the AFC Championship right now. We should. The Bengals should be coming to Buffalo.
100%.
But that's not what happened. The Bills lost. So you can look at it and get really mad about it and be completely negative about it and say, well, there's no good in this game because we lost. Or you can look at it and say there was a lot of good in this game because the Bills played a really freaking good game. Specifically that offense, Josh Allen, Gabe Davis, a few guys on the defense had great games as well. You can be negative all you want to, and that's fine. But moral victories are just enjoying things, even though the outcome sucked, in my opinion. And in this case, the outcome sucked, but there's nothing that we can do to change that outcome. And we don't get to watch football. We don't get to watch Bills football again until August. So I'm going to take my moral victories and be happy with them going into the offseason because because I love this team. And it's not like I just want to sit around and be negative about them and criticize them and only do that. Instead, I'd like to enjoy it a little bit. And a little relish in the moment. I mean, this is something that we're going to be talking about for the rest of our lives. It's not going to be a good thing. It'll be something we joke about eventually, I'm sure, like we do with other things that have happened in Bill's history that are terrible. And it's something that people are going to attack us for. But, there's nothing we can do to change it. So might as well get as much as we can out of it.
I think that's a really good point, though, because while I'm not trying to treat this like a moral victory to make everyone else think it's a moral victory, I'm doing this for me and my own health. However you want to deal with this is your decision. If you want to look at this in a negative light and just feel like we lost so there isn't anything positive, you're not wrong in thinking that, because that's how the team is thinking right now. The team is thinking like, we just lost. Like, this is awful. It's inexcusable and we should have won that game. And no one, like Gabe Davis, isn't all that happy about, breaking that record. You can kind of see he's not too thrilled about it. And all the questions Josh Allen was being asked, he was like, I don't care about how good we did. We didn't get the job done. I don't care about how great I've done this year. We didn't get the job done. So there is some merit to that. I'm not going to take that away from anyone if they want to just feel negatively about this, because it's awful. It's terrible. I still feel like shit. But at the end of the day, for my own health and anyone else out there who's taking this like a moral victory, it's better to think of this in that way for me, because I can then turn the page on what has happened. I can move on from my grief, and I can move on with this team and still feel good about what they're building in Buffalo. And that's why I'm looking at it in this way. No one is suckered into doing that. Everyone can live their life their own way. But that's why I think you see a lot of people taking it as a moral victory. But I don't think for 1 second anyone in that Bills organization is going to take it as a moral victory until like a couple of weeks from now. I think they're all going to let it sting because it should sting.
Yeah. And the whole thing is, I think it's fine to not take many moral victories, during the regular season too, where it's like, or, in a situation where they got to go out the next week and like, these are the things that they need to do because they can make change immediately. The next week they can make those changes. It's not the same anymore because the season's over, and now they don't have that opportunity to come back and make that change. So it's assessment time. It's self-assessment. What'd you do right and what'd you do wrong?
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay to acknowledge the things that you did right and be excited that they were good. So let's move on from that because we're transitioning now into the off season, and off season starts with free agency and goes into the draft. What are you kind of looking for real quick? We'll just do a couple of these and then ask you guys your opinion as well. So in your opinion right now, guys, free agency and draft, what positions are you looking for? What players are you looking for? Is there anything specific that you want to see the Bills do this offseason, or at least early on in the offseason to try to make this team better? And Kendall, what are your thoughts on that as well?
So I'm going to pull up the Bills free agents here. And there's a lot of guys. There's a lot of guys that were important to this team, but obviously we can't bring them all back given, the salary cap. That's just the nature of the game. For my money, I'd like to get Harrison Phillips back. I'd like to make sure we can get Harrison Phillips back.
It is officially re-sign Harrison Phillips season.
Attaboy.
I want to keep wearing this jersey. But yeah, Harrison Phillips, you'd be out of your mind, I think, at this point not to sign him after the season that he just had. I don't think he'll demand a crazy amount out on the market.
That's the big thing. It's like, right, we could probably get this guy back for less than what he's probably playing at right now because of injury risk, because of inconsistency early on in his career. Yeah. All of that stuff, we might be getting him at a bargain. And furthermore, the hometown discount. Yeah. So all of that, we know he loves it here. He's part of the community in Buffalo.
Yeah, him and Josh are great friends, and it's one of those things where he'd be one where if we let him go, I just think it'd be a huge mistake, just the way that he's progressed over the course of the season. In the preseason, he was fantastic, and I thought he was going to tear it up, and then he got hurt, and then he played hurt and was fantastic and tore it up. So I mean, like it's hard to say that he's a guy that. I would say he's probably priority number one on the free agents list.
I agree. That's exactly why I went there first. I think he is priority number one, given the inconsistencies defending the run and obviously how he's done. I don't want to say priority number two, but I'm going to go to Ryan Bates. He's a restricted free agent. It shouldn't cost as much. I'm not too privy to the restricted free agent stuff. I know you have to tender them like with a certain round draft pick, and it means you pay them more, but also if you lose them, you get that draft pick or something of that nature. But I think he should be a priority because I think we saw that there was inconsistency on the interior of the offensive line. And once he came in, we really saw some consistency and continuity really started to play favorably to this offense. And I don't think it's going to be all that expensive to keep him around for the 1 year of restricted free agency, that tendered deal. So I'd like to see we get that done. Even if that doesn't mean he's going to be the starter next year, he is great depth and a sufficient starter. So I would love to have him back next year. I guess I would put him at priority number 2. Priority number 3, I am split between Levi Wallace and one of these two edge defenders.
Yeah.
I think I do not want to bring back both Addison and Hughes. I think we need a veteran presence in that room. Whether they're playing meaningful snaps or not, I don't really care at this point because I think they both have enough gas in the tank to provide on the field. But I want to see more of a shift towards the young guys because we got 3 young guys and perhaps more in the draft for all we know, or maybe another one in free agency for all we know. But I'd like to see one, and I think I'd prefer Hughes just because of his tenure in Buffalo. I feel like he probably means more to the locker room.
Yeah, I think his off the field presence and even out of the locker room presence, he and his wife are very good friends with a lot of people on the team. And that means something, like when we lost Matt Barkley, that was a hit to the kind of the social life of the players because everyone loved Matt and his wife. So that affects things. And I know that a lot of the wives and girlfriends there get along well with those two as well. So I think things like that are big, especially in Sean McDermott's world and Brandon Beane's world. They love that culture. They love that family mentality. So I'd say because of that, you have to give Hughes a little bit of an edge. But if they don't bring either one of those guys back, they do need to get some kind of veteran in free agency, whether it's one of those two guys or not. But having that familiarity with the team and being in the system would definitely be a plus.
100% agreed. Another 100% agreed. I think everyone can agree that we're moving on from Sir Vernon Butler.
Yes, I'm fine with that one.
Yeah, I don't think we need to spend too much time on that.
Yeah.
I think most of us are assuming that Sanders and Trubisky are gone.
Yep.
I personally don't want to waste any money on mediocrity. I think Ike is fine depth, but I don't want to overspend on depth.
Yeah, and unfortunately, he coming off of a torn Achilles injury that he had late in the season, he's not going to be ready week 1. I don't think, given his age and his position. So it's unfortunate that that's the way it goes sometimes, but I don't think he's coming back.
Agreed. Like I said with Levi early in the show and what I just said, I think he's kind of tied with getting one of these guys back in terms of priority for third in priority order. I'd like to get Levi back. That's what I would prefer to do. But hell, if it's just too expensive, Dane Jackson can fill in. He can be that guy that, veteran who's played in the league. He has some snaps. Obviously, he's a younger guy, but, a veteran presence. And then bring in a younger guy in the draft, or maybe just get someone else in free agency. But I'd prefer to bring back Levi. I wouldn't be all that butthurt if he had to leave. For whatever reason.
Yeah, and we kind of talked on that and everything and how that transition could go.
Isaiah McKenzie. I'm curious how you feel on this, but I would like to bring him back. I would.
You can bring him back for super cheap. If that's the case, it's worth it. Why not? If you can bring him back for, a million, under 1.5 million, is probably, I don't know what that number is there. Is that 1.127?
Yeah, what he got this year is that,
If you can bring him back for that, bring him back. Sure, why not? He's a weapon. He's an extra guy that can return the ball if you need it. He's a guy that you can throw into a system and have him run deep crossers and destroy the Patriots if you need it. So, if for the price that he's worth, unless he's demanding more in the market because he had a couple of those moments, which I can't really imagine. I don't think he would want to leave. Honestly, I think he likes Buffalo a lot. And this is like a family to him, it seems. So I don't think he would want to do it. I think he'd rather stay in Buffalo and play for $1 million. So
I agree. I think I'm in the same boat with him as I am with Levi Wallace, where it's like, I'd prefer to have them back, but if they're asking for too much and they have better deals on the table with other teams, you kind of just have to turn the page on that. You just have to.
Yeah, and that's the way it goes sometimes. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a take it or leave it type of a thing with Isaiah McKenzie, because I think he'd be used as mostly the way that he was this year as a depth piece, and a gadget guy. So
I would see him as insurance because I think eventually we're going to have to fortify that slot position because Beasley
right,
isn't going to be here forever.
right,
No one even knows what the Bills' plans are with Beasley this offseason
yeah,
is. So I'd like to have some sort of insurance plan on that position. So I'd like it to be McKenzie, someone who knows the system, preferably over a rookie or something like that. So that's where I stand on McKenzie. I'm good with F.A. Obata. He showed flashes this year, but
yeah,
it's once again like I don't want to pay for mediocrity when we're cash
yeah,
strapped.
yeah. He's not well rounded enough to be worth it. I don't think he's okay.
Yeah.
Honestly, pick up Shaq Lawson instead of F.A. Obata.
Right. No, exactly. Honestly, that's exactly what I was thinking. If we don't get either of these guys up top here, I
Shaq.
prefer to have Shaq Lawson then.
Yep.
That's one of those options.
Yep.
I'll talk about the special teams guys. Taiwan Jones and Saran Neal. I don't want to bring back both. I want to just bring back Saran Neal because I think although he doesn't necessarily provide a lot on defense, he provides some semblance of flexibility.
Yep.
And
whereas Taiwan Jones only sees the field on special teams.
Literally only. And I know it's very limited for Neal on defense, but it's something. It is literally something. So moving on, I think we can probably assume that Breed is gone.
Breed is gone.
I think that didn't work out how people hoped. But he showed that speed at the running back position can matter.
Yeah.
I think if they want to bring in a guy in free agency similar to what they did with Matt Breida at the same kind of figure, just over $1 million, I'd be fine with it.
I'm perfectly fine with them trying out another veteran. The thing is they don't really care. They're never going to pay a running back.
No, they're not.
If Devin Singletary is demanding too much money after this next season, they're not going to re-sign him.
I agree 100%.
Because they don't. I truly believe that they are in that camp of we don't want to pay a running back because we have other things that we could pay for instead. Because we have Josh Allen, we don't need an inexpensive running back. So I'm fully in that camp, and I think that that's kind of what they're thinking as well. So yeah, if you want to bring back the veteran guy, they did it with Frank Gore, they did it with Chris Ivory, they did it with Matt Breida, they did it with TJ Yeldon. So it's something that they like to do.
Yeah, I actually think they're going to try to reset that clock and draft a running back this year so they have some leverage when Singletary is inevitably asking for money because he's worth it, but not in the philosophy of what the Bills are trying to do. They don't want to pay a running back, so if they have a rookie, that's kind of what I'm assuming half-heartedly what the idea was with Zach Moss. It was give Singletary a compliment, but also have some negotiating power if Singletary wants money. However, I think we can all agree that didn't work out as planned.
Right.
Justin Zimmer kind of falls into that bucket of I don't want to pay mediocrity. I like Justin Zimmer a lot.
I like Justin Zimmer. Can he play guard?
Maybe.
I'm
maybe.
Serious. I'm dead serious.
I laughed at you, but like
guard.
He probably could. He honestly probably could.
He's an athlete. He's a wrestler. Put him at guard.
Funny.
I want to see what he can do.
That's funny. Maybe
I'm really not joking though. I want to see what he can do at guard.
I mean, he's 30 years old, so like,
hey,
if we're paying him this figure, like maybe, but like we got to save some money somewhere.
The thing is I don't think anyone else is going to sign him unless it's to a practice squad anyway. Unless they want to use him as a depth piece. He's got a high motor and he's a fun guy and everything, but someone would, I think, maybe pick him up to be the 53rd or 52nd guy on the roster or something like that. But yeah, I don't know how much he's going to demand elsewhere. So if you can't, I think bring him back for that cheap amount, at least for camp, and make someone beat him.
Yeah, that's actually a good point because there's no guarantees with this roster. You know how they love to play it. Nothing's a guarantee. You gotta prove it out there on the field in camp. Then lastly, Tyrell Dodson as linebacker depth. He's still young. Be 24 next year. He's an exclusive rights free agent, which I'm not going to lie to you and talk out of my ass. I don't know any of the legal stuff of what that means. Yeah. But he's some sort of restricted free agent. So if Chris Janke is here, calling on Chris Janke.
Chris Janke. We need our encyclopedia.
But I don't know. I like Tyrell Dodson a lot. I talked about him a lot this offseason. Yeah. I like him, but it's like, I don't know. What is the plan at linebacker? People are displeased with Edmonds. People are displeased with Milano at this point because of the recent game. People like Klein when he comes in, but Klein is athletically limited. So what is the plan with linebacker? Do we ever want to have looks with 3 linebackers on the field? Is Tyrell Dodson a part of that? Who knows? But yeah, I'm kind of wishy-washy on what Tyrell Dodson's going to be next year. Smith, I see this right here. Smith is locked up for next year because he signed a 2-year extension before last season. So we have him for next year.
We're probably going to get Dodson back because exclusive rights, I'm assuming, is pretty easy to keep a dude, even if he gets an offer elsewhere. So, yeah, we're probably going to get Dodson back anyway. And I like him as a depth guy. But yes, I would like them to draft somebody. I like what they're doing with the running back position, which I think is kind of what you alluded to a little bit when they did with Zach Moss. They're going to keep doing that. Drafting a guy in the 3rd round, the 4th round, went to a small school, had really good stats, didn't really get the big looks because he wasn't a Power 5 guy. So, I think they're going to keep doing that. And
agree.
It works. I think it works just fine because I don't think you need a top 10 running back to win football games.
No.
I think the Bills have proved that. I think a lot of teams have proved that. You just need a guy that can produce, just like Devin Singletary is a guy who can produce. He's shifty. He can make some guys miss, and he can get the yards that you need him to get him, that you need to get. But, he's not going to be a superstar guy for you or anything like that. So why would you spend more money on him when you can get another guy who can produce, who can, only pay him under on a rookie contract? And it sucks because I really like Singletary and I'd love for him to stick around forever. But logistically speaking, it doesn't usually make too much sense for me.
It doesn't seem like it's in the cards for this front office, which sucks.
I want to pull up this comment from Silas real quick here. Why do people think we need a ton of DEs? The edges got Mahomes to step up in the pocket. We need huge athletic DT to collapse the pocket. If we can get Jordan Davis, man.
I don't want Jordan Davis at all. Why? I don't want him at all. So I don't want him because I think there are a few players like him in this draft
that are better,
that aren't necessarily better, but they are of better value. And I don't want to waste a 1st round pick on someone that isn't going to be ultra productive on 3rd down, or maybe not even see the field on 3rd down. Jordan Davis is crazy. He's like one of a kind of human. Like he's kind of like the Josh Allen of defensive tackles. It's like, what the hell are you doing? How are you built this way? But I don't want to spend our 25th pick on Jordan Davis. I think it can be spent in a better way. I think the capital can be allocated in smarter ways than drafting someone that's only going to impact the game on 1st and 2nd down. That's just my 2 cents on it. I really like Travis Jones from UConn. I have no idea when he's planning on going, but I really like him. There's a ton of like 340-pound defensive tackles that can move like they're 305 pounds. So I don't want to oversell on Jordan Davis in the 1st round. I think he's crazy good, but I don't want him at that cost.
Yeah. I haven't really looked into it. I just know that he's massive and a freak of nature, an athletic freak. So I like guys like that. That butters my bread. So, but yeah, I also agree. I want a big fatty right in the middle in that 1 tech or in a nose tech or whatever we're doing. Probably not a nose tech too often, but yeah, I want a big fatty in there. And I love Harrison Phillips, and I think that he's good and he's developing and he's going to be better next year even. But guys got to rotate in. So, and if you draft someone maybe that is not quite as refined, but has a lot of potential, you can let Harrison Phillips take a bulk of the reps until that guy is ready to start rotating in more and more. And then eventually, you might have him 50-50 at a certain point.
Exactly.
So,
and that's why he's our priority number 1 free agent for this offseason.
Yes, exactly. I think he's super, super important because he's the best 1 tech on the team at the moment. Yeah. I think he kind of stepped up into that role and surpassed Star at a certain point.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting what the Bills decide to do with both Starr and Beasley this offseason. Because I think Beasley is a candidate to extend and give him an extra year so it kind of softens the cap hit blow for the next couple of seasons, versus Starr is kind of like, I don't know if we want to keep him around past this year, or are we just going to bite the bullet?
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see how they play that.
Yeah. All right. So at the end here, let's go through and see what some of you guys said. Chandler Jones and Cordero Patterson. If McKenzie leaves, I would like Cordero
I
Patterson
really
regardless. We
want
would not
Cordero
need to
Patterson.
re-sign McKenzie because he would fill everything that McKenzie would need to do, and then he's just better at it. Chandler Jones, yeah, might have to shell out for that one, but still be kind of cool to get him. Namdi said free agent, slot wide receiver, guard, tackle. I would lean more toward guard than tackle. And then defensive end, yeah, I'd be happy with getting veteran guys at any of those positions, specifically a guard. Get a depth guy at guard, just a veteran, to have him compete, going to camp, everything like that. Draft corner at the end. Yeah, I mean, hey, if the guys are there, you draft 2 corners. Why not? Sure. Yeah, I definitely think get a corner in this draft. At some point, you got to do it. Let's see. Keep Harrison. Yep, absolutely. Bates, Phillips, Levi. I would say those are probably my top 3.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe those defensive ends, those veteran defensive ends get in there as well. Addison over Hughes. That could be one as well. But yeah, I think that's got most of them there. Someone said. Was I don't know anything about either of these guys. Have you heard of either of them?
Yeah. So
why you actually watch college football.
Kyler Gordon is the second corner on Washington. So
Gotcha.
Trent McDuffie is the guy that everyone's talking about because he's their number one.
I've heard
corner.
that one.
I know that name.
I heard that one.
So he's the one that gets all the attention and obviously doesn't get targeted a lot. So it's kind of like the Buffalo Bills, Trey White, Levi Wallace situation. Levi Wallace is going to get targeted a lot. Kyler Gordon gets targeted a bunch. So yeah, he has some good tape out there, really well-rounded, good athlete. I actually am downloading tape on him right now. I'm going to hit that up shortly, probably in the next couple of weeks. Same with Andrew Booth. Andrew Booth is an athlete. He is a strong athlete. Like he is surprisingly strong for his size. He is fast. He's a really good athlete. He's the guy I want at 25. But once again, it kind of depends on what we do in free agency. Because I think if we re-sign Levi Wallace, I'm not really expecting drafting a cornerback in round 1. But if we don't sign Levi,
I think they still would. Honestly,
really, you think so?
Absolutely, because they drafted a D end and then they drafted another D end. I don't really think they care that much.
That's a good point.
Because if it's a position where it could use help and there's a guy there that they think can help, they're going to take it. I don't think they care about depth too much. Because
I'll throw my idea out. No, you're absolutely right. You're 100% right.
Just because, there aren't really that many positions either where you need where the Bills need crazy depth right now. So if you can get a game changer, take the game changer, and ignore the position. Maybe for the first round. I don't want him to draft position back to back again and then back to back again. I don't want him to do that shit. Please draft at least 6 positions.
Yeah, spread the wealth, but don't worry about positional needs so much as the priority. Find the guy you like and then cross out that position for the rest of the draft kind of thing. Right. I agree with that 100%. McCreary is the other guy that a lot of people are targeting at 25. Those 4 names right there at 25 are good names to target. Gordon, someone who may slip into the second round, could be like a trade up in the second round candidate or hopefully slip to our pick in the second round. But I want a cornerback too. I want a cornerback early. I'm with everyone.
Yeah, I'd agree with that as well. Yeah, corner and interior offensive line, interior defensive line, and corner are I'd be happy with any of those 3 in the first round. So hopefully that's what they go for. But we'll be talking about it a lot. I'm not really sure. We're not sure what our schedule is going to be like as far as this show goes.
Yeah.
We're not really sure. This is going to be our last one for the regular season. Probably not going to do anything next week because there's not going to be anything to break down. As far as what we're doing, come free agent time, come draft time, that's yet to be seen. So if you'd like, go follow us on Twitter. I'm over here at Clay Troya. He's over here at Mersky Kendall. Give us a follow over there, and then we'll be tweeting about what our plans are and what the future is going to look like there. So be sure to give us a follow there. And yeah, any closing thoughts here, Kendall, as we close out the regular season or
I
the
mean,
season?
I know, right? I mean, I can't go without saying this. Thank you to everyone who has supported us this year and watched our film sessions, been here for all of them or some of them, whatever it is. Super chat us, anyone who's done any of that stuff. Thank you for coming around and supporting this. We love doing this, but we love that it has a positive impact on other Bills fans. It's really great to be a part of this. Thank you to Buffalo Fanatics for giving us the platform to do this, all that stuff, man. It's been a great season. It's an absolute gut wrencher that had to come to an end in this way. But my God, it has been a great year breaking down film with you, Clay, and everyone in the chat. It's been an experience, man. And oh, it's a shame it had to end like this.
I know it's been a great time. I mean, I echo everything that Kendall said. You guys have been fantastic all season. You got everyone in this chat knows a lot about football, and it's very awesome to come in here and have you guys, putting valuable stuff in the comments here, and we're all just having a conversation with each other. Silas coming in with the super chat.
Thanks,
Thank you, Silas.
Silas.
Smash that like, absolutely smash that one more time for the end of the season here. But yeah, you guys have been fantastic, and I look forward to being on the show every week and being able to talk about the Bills. And it's awesome that people want to come and talk about it with me. So we appreciate you guys so much, and we can't thank you enough. But yeah, I mean, that's a wrap on the 2021-2022 season. I guess until next time, go Bills, right?
Yeah, that's all we got, man. Go Bills.